Due to the COVID pandemic, the activity was changed from the regular physical to web-based academies. The regular postgraduate training program was conducted on every Saturday since 21st November 2020 and is still continuing uninterrupted. The commitment to support the common people during COVID-19 pandemic was reflected by a 24-hour non-stop free vaccination camp starting on 14th August 2021, conducted by the Trichur city branch. It was unique in the country and was appreciated by the state administration and World Health Organization. 2 such vaccination camps were also organized by the Trichur city branch. This was organized under the leadership of Dr. Arun Krishna and Dr. J.S. Nivin, the officials of Trichur city branch. We celebrated the World Leprosy Day, and the Christmas Day celebration was made different by its celebration with cerebral palsy children. A photograph contest with the topic nature was conducted exclusively for ISA members with attractive cash prizes. A Republic Day raid was conducted by ISA jointly with Indian Medical Association, creating an awareness to our members and publics on healthy lifestyle. The yearly conducting postgraduate conference from ISA Kerala State Chapter, the ISA MidCon 2021, was conducted on a virtual platform on 20th and 21st March 2021 by Cochin City Branch. 480 delegates attended the conference. The 4-day PG refresher course covering all the practical and viva topics for all the postgraduates of MD, DA and DND was conducted on 17th, 18th, 24th and 24th July 2021 with good participation from all over the country. Eminent teachers from all over the country joined this training program as faculty. This was relayed live on YouTube and a recorded version is made available for future reference. More than 1,000 students watched the program and are happy to hear the good feedback we received from many students and teachers. An all-women CME was organized in November 2020 with eminent lady teachers of the country as faculty, a program with different style and with high academic contents and good attendance. The regional anesthesia training course organized by Trivandrum City Branch was inaugurated on 27th December 2020 by the state team of ISA. The state office wrote an article opposing the Central Council of Indian Medical Regulation amendment and was published in Hindi newspaper, which is published at national level. An interview on the same matter was given by the president in Nagasavani. A state level CME on current topics was organized, the Act 2021, on a virtual platform. A cultural fest with many attractive programs, Amaze 2021, gave our members an opportunity to exhibit their talents. We express our gratitude and thanks to all leaders and members of this auspicious organization for helping us to continue our activities uninterrupted in a good way. Thank you all, JIC.
Thank you, everyone. So now we move on to the next the topic as such, that is World Anesthesia Day celebrations, and for that I would now like to So now I would like to welcome Dr. Binil for his welcome address
Thank you, sir. Good evening, dear seniors and friends. Wishing you all World Anesthesia Day greetings on behalf of ISA Kerala State Chapter. The WFSA theme of this year's World Anesthesia Day is teamwork. A stronger team for better patient care, which is quite apt in this corona pandemic. The practice of anesthesia is fundamental to the practice of medicine. According to the Institute of Medicine, anesthesia practice is amongst the most successful specialties in assuring patient safety and reducing mortality. Amongst the medical practitioners, anesthesiologists tend to be the most risk-oriented and interested in addressing patient safety issues. The specialty of anesthesia has highly organized training, patient risk assessment scales, high patient monitoring standards, and patient safety foundation. The anesthesiologists should consistently endeavor to keep themselves abreast of the latest techniques through continuing medical educations. Today, we are lucky to have with us veteran Air Vice Marshal, ISA past National Vice President, Dr. T.P. Madhusudanan, a stalwart in the field of anesthesiology from Kerala, from Trivandrum, who will share his experiences with us. It is indeed an honor and privilege to welcome Dr. E.K. Abdul Nasser, President, ISA Kerala State Chapter, and Dr. Venkatagiri K.M., National President-elect, Dr. B. Radhakrishnan, past National President, Dr. Sunil P.R., Honorable Treasurer, ISA Kerala State Chapter, and all our senior faculty members and friends in the field of anesthesiology to today's meeting. Finally, I welcome all the participants who have joined to attend today's World Anesthesia Day celebrations and webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vinil. I would now welcome Dr. E.K. Abdul Nasser, President, ISA Kerala State Chapter, to deliver World Anesthesia Day greetings. Over to Nasser, sir.
Respected President-elect ISA National, Dr. Venkatagiri, past President ISA National, Dr. B. Radhakrishnan, past National Vice President and today's speaker, Dr. T.P. Madhusudanan, our Secretary, Dr. Binil Isaac Matthew, and Treasurer, Dr. Sunil P.R., and respected leaders, officials, and esteemed members of this association. Good evening to you all and greetings from ISA Kerala State Chapter. On this birthday of our specialty, the World Anesthesia Day, I wish you all a happy and safe anesthesia practice. The incessant attempt to relieve pain, which started 175 years back, that gave birth to the specialty of anesthesia, which has now grown to a safe practicing branch of medical science. This is achieved through research and development that has happened in many medical and engineering subjects. The research in pharmacology that led to the development of safer drugs with wide safety margin and minimal side effects and predictable recovery. The inventions in biomedical engineering provided us monitors with more precision and were able to predict the untoward incidents early, helping us to manage it successfully. The introduction of robots and technique of artificial intelligence is going to come in a big way in our future practice. This will definitely add more safety to our patients, and it is high time that we must get familiarized with these advanced technologies. We know that many such advancements that has happened and newer equipments were introduced, but it's never going to be a substitution to our clinical knowledge, our experience and skill that we acquired from our seniors and teachers over many years. Our multifactorial skill made us the leaders in clinical medicine and administrative management during the last COVID-19 pandemic in our state. At this moment of auspicious occasion, we express our willingness as members of the medical profession to continue our service to the society in times of unexpected pandemic and natural calamities. I take this opportunity once again to wish you all a happy World Anesthesia Day. Thank you, JISA.
Thank you, Nasser sir. Next, I would like to invite or request Dr. D. Radhakrishnan, who was the past President ISA National, to deliver the Anesthesia Day greetings.
Good evening and welcome you all to Either Day festivities 2021, wherever you are. Friends, wish you all pleasant remembrance of Either Day. We anesthesiologists all over the world are put to challenges during these pandemic times. And to an appreciable extent, we are able to safeguard the health of our citizens. Hope our humanitarian efforts will continue and we may become more functional as well as capable in coming months. Science of anesthesiology has progressed very rapidly in the last 175 years, even at undeveloped countries. And we look forward to further developments as branching of our STEM areas in the science of anesthesiology to multi-targeted healthcare advancements. Hope this will realize in the next 2 decades. Wishing you all the very best in your career. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhakrishnan sir. Next, I would request Dr. Venkatagiri KM, President-elect, ISA National, to deliver the World Anesthesia Day greetings.
Good evening, President Dr. Nasser, Secretary Binil, past National President Dr. Radhakrishnan, past National Vice President, today's guest, the Air Vice Marshal Dr. Mutsudanan, friends, colleagues, ISA leaders, and all. I'm very happy to greet you all on this occasion of World Anesthesia Day. Today is World Restart Heart Day also. We have chosen both of which are our domain, and we are the first persons wherever it is for resuscitation work. Time has changed from that. Nazar and Dr. Radhakrishnan have told that we have from the very low stage, we have come to the highest stage, and it was, though people were not recognizing our service earlier, during pandemic, only we were at the at rescue of any people, and it was anesthesiologists who were treating the COVID patients all over. Others are only superficial, that everybody knows, and people have known our services. Our capabilities are not only in anesthetizing or pain management or palliative care or critical care. In administrative side also, anesthetists should take lead role, because it is seen that the decision taken by anesthetists are better than us. We cater many departments and many people, and we have to adjust with many people and know that. Not like others, they have to take only one department, their department, and maybe anesthesia. But we are not like that. We have to have coordination and coordination, many departments. And we don't have much time. A surgeon can have an appendix and some complication come and he can re-repair, but we can't. We have only 3 minutes time. If the patient's hypoxic, it is done. Not like others. Like that, our decisions are quick and our actions are acceptable to all. So we have to make use of these things and further progress in that and take wherever the opportunities come to take those roles as leaders and improve the development of our institution or whatever it is. With this, I greet you all on this day of World Anesthesia Day and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkatagiri, sir. Now we move on to the academic program of the day, and it is titled Story Time for the Anesthesiologists, and it's to be delivered by Dr. T.P. Madhusudanan, veteran Air Vice Marshal, past Vice President ISA National, and Professor Emeritus of Sri Gokulam Medical College, Trivandrum. We welcome you, sir, to deliver the talk. Over to you, sir.
Good evening and greetings on 175th Anesthesia Day, dear friends. I am thankful to the Kerala State Chapter of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists for having given me this opportunity to be talking to you. It is story time for anesthesiologists. All stories start with once upon a time. Yes, once upon a time, there was Ralph. Those days, he was not called an anesthesiologist. But he knew that stunning is one way of making people pain-free for various procedures. One may laugh at him nowadays, but his successors even perfected a technique of stunning people. They put a wooden tub on the head of the patient, placed a walnut on top of it, and hit on the walnut with a wooden plank, hard enough to break the walnut, bought the wooden tub with impressive results. But the story does not stop there. The times pass, and as the times pass, there are changes and new stories that come up. This parable of the sower, told by Jesus, is an interesting parable. Behold, a sower went forth to sow. Some fell along the path, and the birds ate it up. Some fell on rocks, which grew and choked them. Some fell on good soil and yielded crop. Some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. Times and history shows the similar events. It sows seeds of thought, but some will fall along the path to disappear. Some will have transient effects only, but some will fall on the good soil and yield a crop. Some 100, some 60, and some 30. These stories are like those seeds sown by the sower. The early recorded anesthetic drug use had been in 4000 BC when the Sumerians started using poppy for producing analgesia. Babylonians in 2250 used hyoscyamus to similar end. In China, in 1699 BC, they developed acupuncture. In Greece, it is known that 1187 BC, they were using mandragora and datura with limited success. In 650 BC in Delphi, they were inhaling fumes, possibly ethylene oxide, to dull the pain. In India, around 600 BC, marijuana had been in use. The Assyrians used a physical form of carotid compression to produce pain-free states. The Greek in 64 AD used mandrake boiled wine to produce pain-free status. The Arabs and the Romans around 800 AD used the soporific sponge. Incas in 1350 chewed cocoa leaves and the saliva was spat on the wounds to produce a pain-free, freedom from pain. However, the record keeping had been poor, particularly the Indian way. Lakshmana, when became unconscious in Sri Lanka, Hanuman was sent for Sanjeevani. The description of Sanjeevani given to Hanuman was inadequate. He couldn't identify the plant. Therefore, he had to bring the whole mountain. Sanmohini and Sanjeevani had been used in India in Raja Bhoja's neurosurgery. But what were the constitution of these medicines are not known in the absence of proper records. Unfortunately, we had to rely on Chinese travelers like Fahian, who visited India in the 5th century, and Huansang in the 7th century, to record the events of India and the Indian civilization. It is also sad that whatever records were there in Taxila were burned down by the Huns in the 7th century AD. And similar thing happened when Khalji burned down Nalanda University and its library. The thought regarding the pain and its measures were philosophical in the time of Buddha. Buddha believed that pain is inevitable, but suffering is not. He preached that pain is that the world does to you, while suffering is that you do to yourself. Suffering is because of your wounds. These were not off the mark, as recently Beecher has shown in his studies on wounded soldiers that pain is a response of the individual's mind more than the actual injury that has been caused. The early recorded form of history, though embellished, is the Bible as to how God created man, and subsequently he carried out a first surgery to remove Adam's rib for creation of Eve after casting a deep sleep on Adam. The first administration of anesthesia to man had been by God himself. However, Adam and Eve were not obedient children of God. When they sinned and disobeyed the instructions of Almighty, they were chased out by the angels, and they were cursed to suffer pain, which essentially the word emanating from pena, the Greek word for the penalty. And ever since, humans had been suffering pain. The period of human existence on earth is divided into various ages. The early ages, the dark ages, the period of Renaissance, the age of reasoning, the French Revolution in 1789, and thereafter the industrial age and the information age. What is likely to come next? The space age? Are Homo sapiens going to become Homo Deus as the evolution takes place with the help of technology that is available today? These had the impact also on the development of anesthesiology. On 16th October 1846, William Trevor Green Morton, the dentist and medical student, demonstrated successfully the use of anesthetic ether for surgical anesthesia. What drove him to bring about this revolutionary change had been various other factors. He had developed a dental prosthesis which could be used only after making the patient edentless and requiring several serial extractions to be carried out before it could be used. And he wanted to make money out of this. And the only solution was to make tooth pulling pain-free. So he searched for it and found a solution. It was his entrepreneurial skill which made him an innovator and the founder of anesthesiology. He also is credited to be the first military anesthetist as he acted as an anesthetist during the American Civil War. In his eagerness to patent the drug and the procedure, he named the drug lithium. Lethe, the river that departed souls have to cross before they enter heaven, makes all the memory erased from the mind after drinking the water of Lethe. And what an imaginative name he gave. However, the smell of ether was known to his audience. An aware society cannot be treated as an ignorant mass of people. It holds good even today. In the information age, society has access to information, and providing the right information is our responsibility. Otherwise, we will have major challenges. Success in any field has got its consequences. 150 years after Morton has started taking rest under his tombstone, people examined his personality and came to the conclusion that a close examination of his life reveals a pattern of behavior that progresses from narcissistic traits to narcissistic personal pathology. Hence, be careful when you have life in successes. There is a likelihood of a closer examination by people who are born centuries after you. The long story is short. Crawford Long in 1842 first successfully used ether for surgeries and obstetric analgesia. However, he was late to publish and did so only after Morton's public demonstration. Despite collecting various sworn affidavits from his patients, his claim to discovery was denied because he lacked public proof. However, the United States of America honored him by declaring 30th March as Doctor's Day, the day he first used ether for successful anesthesia. The use of nitrous oxide for recreational purpose had been very popular in the middle of the 19th century. The public demonstrations and the nitrous oxide parties were not uncommon. At that time, people even speculated that to escape from the nagging wife, one could possibly use nitrous oxide inhalation. There are many cartoons that have appeared during that period. Horace Wells noticed the analgesic properties of nitrous oxide. He used nitrous oxide for tooth pulling successfully. However, he did not perfect the technique. He held a demonstration which failed, and he was booed out as a humbug. This failure caused loss of mind for Horace Wells, and subsequently he landed up in jail for having thrown acid on a woman. Finally, he committed suicide scientifically. He cut his vessels in the hand and immersed it in a tub of warm water to ensure that the blood loss is hastened. Political support has got its relevance in development of medical specialties. Queen Victoria, who ruled for over 60 years over her empire, had also been a prodigious procreator. Her husband, concerned about the pain which she experienced during the childbirth, utilized the services of John Snow for obstetric analgesia during the birth of her seventh child, Prince Leopold. However, Lancet as well as the Queen's physicians were very critical of administering chloroform for obstetric analgesia. The Snow was called again for his next childbirth during 1857. And the fact that the Queen had supported obstetric analgesia gave it respectability and changed the mind of both the church as well as the scientific community of the time. The unfortunate tragedy of Hannah Greener threw up new thoughts as far as anesthesia is concerned. She had a bilateral ingrowing toenail. The left nail was removed under ether in 1847. Her head felt bad for days. The right nail on 28 January 1848 at home was to be removed under chloroform anesthesia. On administration of chloroform, she died in under 2 minutes. The cause of death had been a subject of speculation. Congestion of lungs was the diagnosis. Simpson postulated that asphyxia due to fluids in the lungs had been responsible for her death. Snow considered overdose and cardiac paralysis as possible causes of her demise. Goodman-Levy in 1911 brought out the relationship between epinephrine and chloroform as possible causes of death of Hannah Greener. In 1941, it was Beecher who focused attention onto the safety of anesthetics, which is a major concern even today. There had been also a comedy of errors. Funded by the Nizam of Hyderabad, Major Baron Lorry carried out the first investigation into the cause of death due to chloroform, and that was the first chloroform commission in 1888. He concluded respiratory paralysis as the cause of death. This was debated and disputed. In 1891, under the supervision of experts who came from UK, the second chloroform commission also was conducted, which came to the same conclusion, which today we understand was wrong. However, one interesting fallout from Hyderabad Chloroform Commission is that the first lady anesthesiologist in the world evolved in Dr. Rupabai Fursonji, who had been a participant at the time of the Chloroform Commission. It also highlighted the generosity of the Nizams, that is the blessing of the rulers, which is necessary to fund scientific experiments. Nizam had another agenda. He wanted to highlight the Islamic contribution right from the Dark Ages to his times for the advancement of medicine. The explorers who encountered the natives in South America were surprised to see the poison darts that were in use. They took the drug to Europe for further investigations, and the concept of muscle relaxants evolved. It was Griffith and Johnson in 1942 who successfully used the drug for producing muscle relaxation under anesthesia. The history of muscle relaxants commences with that, and today we are privileged to have a variety of synthetic muscle relaxants which serve our purpose, though it is to be used with caution. The gold, sex theories, wine, and anesthesia. The gold prospectors in South America wanted their labor to work harder in the mines high in the mountains. They found that chewing of coca leaves gave a sense of elation to the labor and also controlled their hunger, resulting in better production in their mines. So this was also exploited by the entrepreneurs who mixed cocoa extracts with wine and founded Coca-Cola. The stimulating properties of cocaine became of interest to Sigmund Freud, who studied the psychotropic properties of cocaine in his laboratory. However, Sigmund Freud was away visiting his girlfriend when his assistant, Carl Kohler, demonstrated the local anesthetic properties of cocaine in a frog's eye and thereafter presented it to the Ophthalmological Society in Austria. That is the beginning of use of local anesthetics, though the local anesthetic properties were known to the original Indians who used to chew cocoa leaves and spit it out onto the wounds to relieve pain. The arrival of cocaine resulted in the production of a celebrated addict. William Halsted injected cocaine into various nerves in his own body with the consequence of becoming an addict to cocaine. Though he successfully demonstrated the nerve blocks, the consequence was serious. However, Halsted is remembered for many of his other achievements in the surgical theaters. And I'm sure many of the anesthesiologists will agree with his observation that the only weapon with which the unconscious patient can immediately retaliate upon the incompetent surgeon is by hemorrhage. There have been girlfriends of consequence in medicine. There had been a problem of irritation of the hands after washing it with phenol before surgery to reduce the infections. The answer to the problem came from America in the form of rubber gloves. William Halsted started using them when his girlfriend and nurse complained of dry hands from carbolic acid. He then also introduced caps and masks and gone for surgery. It is not only Halsted girlfriend who figures in the history of medicine. Von Baer, having synthesized malonylurea, visited the pub nearby to celebrate and named the new compound as barbiturates in honor of the barmaid who was his favorite in the pub. Leonard, confronted with the girlfriend who had jilted him as his patient, had been embarrassed to put his ear onto the bosom of the young lady. Therefore, he rolled up paper to make a tube to auscultate her, and the rest is history. The stethoscope remains a hallmark of the doctors everywhere, even today. Sigmund Freud, had he been able to control his Freudian impulses of rushing to his girlfriend and remained in the laboratory with his studies, he would have been credited also with the discovery of local anesthetics, in addition to his sex theories. William Halsted, we just spoke about a while ago. The wars have got an impact on medical history, particularly in anesthesia. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, there were a large number of casualties, and pentothal or thiopentone had been the intravenous anesthetic which had been introduced recently by Lundy of Mayo Clinic. 500 milligrams of thiopentone was administered to the casualties for anesthetizing them, irrespective of their physiological condition, resulting in a large number of deaths. And thiopentone was dubbed not as an anesthetic drug, but a drug useful for euthanasia. The publication of this article could have had major damaging effect on the reputation of the drug. However, the serendipity of an article emanating from UK regarding the controlled use and the safety of thiopentone overshadowed the fear that was created in use of this drug in the shocked patients during the Pearl Harbor tragedy. Wars have other impacts also in the evolution of our specialty. Morton became the first military anesthetist during the American Civil War. With the challenges of severe facial injuries having to be repaired, Magill and Robotham developed endotracheal anesthesia in the First World War. Motor ambulances speeded up the evacuation of casualties to the surgical centers during World War I. The concept of ambulance itself had evolved during the Napoleonic Wars. Flag, during the First World War, utilized the flag cans as a simple evaporator for anesthetizing battle casualties. Morphine, which was the sole analgesic drug available to the people at that time, resulted in severe addiction problem. Air Commodore Mackintosh, during World War II, developed the coaxial circuit to test life jacket in persons anesthetized and lying in swimming pools. He also studied the variation in partial pressure of oxygen at various heights to understand the impact of it on paradropping of troops from high-flying aircraft. Henry Beecher, during World War II, studied the pain response of soldiers, and he was amazed that patients who had their limbs blown off did not complain of the pain from the injuries, but they complained about the pain that is caused by injections. The Buddhist concept of the mind modifying the pain responses had been scientifically established by him. We just mentioned about thiopentone in shock patients in World War II and its consequences. There had been intense chemical research during World War II, and the halogenated compounds were developed during that period. The Surgeon General of UK had observed at that time, nobody won the last war but the medical services. The increase in knowledge was the sole determinable gain for mankind in a devastating catastrophe. The Ohio Medical Products, who carried out considerable amount of chemical research, were responsible for developing the fluorinated hydrocarbons under leadership of Robbins in 1946. They found the volatile compounds have got less than 4 carbon atoms. Non-flammability was limited to compounds having 4 carbon atoms. Stable with soda lime if unstable bases were excluded. Economy of scale in the manufacture is a criteria to find a successful anesthetic drug. They also found that too many fluorine atoms can result in convulsive drugs. And also, there is no structural commonality in the anesthetic property of different compounds. They postulated 35 compounds could be there with single carbon atoms, 210 compounds with 2 carbon atoms, 2100 compounds with 3 carbon atoms, and 36,900 compounds with 4 carbon atoms. The possible ethers in their study had been 210 with 2 carbon atoms, 4,000 with 3 carbon atoms, and 18,900 with 4 carbon atoms. When you exclude the compounds with high boiling points, the flammable compounds, and the ones having unstable bases, there remained 4,000 compounds. 58 compounds with 3 carbon atoms, 122 compounds with 4 carbon atoms, 4 ethers with 2 carbon atoms, and 204 ethers with 4 carbon atoms. Only 50 of them have been synthesized so far, and 3,950 remain to be studied. Hope some of our young anesthesiologists will be successful in studying them and getting a better anesthetic drug. Morris Minor, golf, and 2 million pounds in anesthesiology. Lord Nuffield, an industrialist who started as a cycle repairer, owned the Morris Minor automobile empire. He decided to donate 2 million pounds to Oxford University with a caveat that part of the money should be used to establish Nuffield Department of Anesthetics, the first department of anesthesia in academic circles in Europe. And Sir Robert McIntosh should be appointed as the Nuffield Professor of Anesthesia. But Oxford doyens were not willing to accept this condition. And Lord Nuffield threatened not to make the donation if these conditions are not accepted. The money was attractive enough for the top leadership of Oxford University to yield, and they started the first academic department of anesthesia in Europe at Oxford University. The Nuffield Department of Anesthetics had been responsible for many innovations, one of them being the East Ratcliffe ventilator. Confronted with the challenge of cycling between inspiration and expiration, they consulted Lord Nuffield, who deputed his engineers to solve the problem. And the solenoid valve, which used to be used in Morris Minor cars, were utilized and to solve the problem of cycling the East Ratcliffe ventilator. Hands at work. During the last 2 decades, we hear a lot of anesthesia non-technical skills as a subject to be focused on during the training of anesthesiologists. An interesting demonstration came from Sir McIntosh's interactions with Lord Nuffield. Sir McIntosh had been the golf partner for Lord Nuffield, and during their walk around in the greens during the golf game, Sir McIntosh educated Lord Nuffield on the possibilities of anesthesiology. Mrs. McIntosh, who participated with Lady Nuffield in her charitable activities, also had been a major influence in the thought process of the Nuffield couple. This action of Sir McIntosh resulted in the first academic department coming up in Oxford University, and we are thankful to the McIntoshes, not only for that, but for a number of equipment that had been developed from the Nuffield Department of Anesthetics. We are all familiar with the McIntosh's laryngoscope. The elders are familiar with McIntosh laryngeal spray. We have all heard about Epstein-McIntosh Oxford, that is the EMO anesthetic apparatus, the Oxford inflating bellows, and the East Ratcliffe ventilator, to name a few of the innovations that came from Nuffield Department of Anesthetics, where Sir Robert McIntosh presided. Robert McIntosh is also known for his punchlines. Sir McIntosh was invited to Paris to anesthetize a nobleman, and he used the EMO apparatus with ether for the purpose. After the procedure, some Parisian elites tried to laugh at him by saying that was it to administer the good old ether that Sir McIntosh had to be called from across the channel? Sir McIntosh quipped, "Before I pack to cross the channel, I asked the surgeon what he is going to operate with." The surgeon said, "With the knife, of course." So I didn't want to embarrass him. There was nothing older than ether that I could find to anesthetize the patient, while the surgeon was operating was with millenniums old knife. The Woolley and Rowe case presented an interesting puzzle. Woolley and Rowe, who had spinal anesthetics in 1947, complained of intense pain and subsequently became paraplegic. It is in the medical legal history, it is a landmark case. It was Lord Denning, to whose credit there are many major legal pronouncements held even today world over, ruled that we must not look at the 1947 incident with 1954 spectacles. But given that the hospital was applying the best practice of the time, there was no negligence, he ruled. It was believed at that time, unknown to the medical fraternity, carbolic acid in which the local anesthetic vials were kept to free from the bacterial growth had possibly leaked through micro cracks in the glass ampules and contaminated the local anesthetics. However, the investigation did not end with the legal finality. The subsequent explanation is that on the day in question, the descaling liquid in sterilizing pad. The subsequent explanation is that on the day in question, descaling liquid in the sterilizing pan had not been replaced by water. It supported his belief and finally offered a credible explanation, because had it been phenol, patients would not have complained of any pain. Man's field of exploration has extended beyond the earth to the space far from the Mother Earth. there are challenges of cost of stocking medical supplies in the spacecrafts and operating under zero gravity conditions, where if blood spurts, it will start floating around in the area. You know about the unfortunate event when Elon Musk's spacecraft had problems with its waste disposal system. Man is also exploring deep down underwater, which necessitate continuous and prolonged living under hyperbaric conditions. And in case of injuries to people in hyperbaric chambers, they cannot be removed from the hyperbaric chambers to the normal hospitals. Instead, the operating personnel with their equipment will have to enter the hyperbaric chamber, and the extreme pressures have got a potential to cause implosion of your glass vials as malfunctioning of the equipment because of the varying density of gases under the hyperbaric conditions. These are challenges which one has to be prepared in coming future. Men, machine, and gods. We are familiar with the challenges that we face. Patients who have got pacemaker implants in operating rooms or in imaging rooms. There are a large number of cyber mechatronic devices and body parts being implanted. And further search is on to have implants which will augment the faculties and capabilities of man. There could be brain implants which are preloaded with information which could be utilized by the individuals. There are bionic autoblock legs which can be moved with the help of various devices and the mind. And this creation of a possible Superman may result in evolution of Homo sapiens into Homo Deus, who have got the capabilities which we imagine for gods. They might become immortal with implants. They may have exceptional abilities like that of Ravana. If a cyborg patient with multiple implants augmenting his various faculties and capabilities suffers an injury, how do we anesthetize him? Are we prepared for that? The stories cannot carry on indefinitely. At some time, it becomes bedtime for the audience. And these are not all the stories we have. Thank you for patient listening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful rendition of the story on anesthesia and the origins of anesthesia. It was really enlightening for all of us. Before we open up the talk for comments, Thank you, sir, for that wonderful story on the origins of anesthesia, that wonderful rendition of the origin of anesthesia. And before we move further, I would like to announce that next week we have an academic session on liver transplantation, and it will be done by doctors from the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Cochin. Next, we move on to the cultural. Next, we move on to the cultural program that has been arranged by ISA Thrissur City Branch. It's an autumn tullal on the history of anesthesia, which is a recite and dance art form of Kerala introduced by Kunjan Nambiar. So please do enjoy the Ottantullal.
എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. ഒരു ശസ്ത്രക്രിയയെക്കുറിച്ച് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഡോക്ടർ നിങ്ങളോട് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഭയപ്പെടാത്തവരായിട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരല്പം വേവലാതി ഇല്ലാത്തവരായിട്ട് ആരുമില്ല. ആ സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങളുടെ അരികിൽ നിന്നുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങളെ സുരക്ഷിതനാക്കി ഈ ശസ്ത്രക്രിയയുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള യാതൊരുവിധ ബദ്ധപ്പാടും നിങ്ങളെ അറിയിക്കാതെ തികച്ചും വേദനാരഹിതമായിട്ട് നിങ്ങളെ ശാന്തമാക്കുന്ന ഒരു സുഹൃത്ത് നിങ്ങളുടെ കൂടെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലോ? പ്രിയപ്പെട്ടവരെ, ഞാനിന്ന് സംസാരിക്കുന്നത് അനസ്തീസിയയെക്കുറിച്ചാണ്. അനസ്തീസിയ കൊടുക്കുന്ന അനസ്തീസിയോളജിസ്റ്റ് ഡോക്ടർമാരെ കുറിച്ചാണ്. 1846 ഒക്ടോബർ 16-ാം തീയതിയാണ് ലോകത്തിൽ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് അനസ്തീസിയ കൊടുത്തത്. അമേരിക്കയിലെ മാസച്യൂസെറ്റ്സ് ജനറൽ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ ജോൺ കോളിൻസ് എന്ന അമേരിക്കൻ സർജൻ അമേരിക്കയിലെ മാസച്യൂസെറ്റ്സ് ജനറൽ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ വെച്ച് ഒരു ശസ്ത്രക്രിയ ചെയ്യാൻ തീരുമാനിക്കുകയാണ്. ആ ശസ്ത്രക്രിയ വേദനരഹിതമാക്കാനും രോഗിയെ ശാന്തമാക്കുവാനുമായി അവിടെയുള്ള ഡോക്ടർ WTG മോർട്ടൺ എന്ന അനസ്തീസിയ കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഡോക്ടറെ ഡോക്ടർ ജോൺ സമീപിക്കുകയാണ്. അന്നാണ് ലോകത്ത് ആദ്യമായിട്ട് അനസ്തീസിയ നൽകുന്നത്. WTG മോർട്ടൺ വളരെ മനോഹരമായി തീർത്തും വേദനാരഹിതമായി ആ ശസ്ത്രക്രിയ നിർവഹിക്കാൻ സഹായിച്ചു. ഈ ഒരു ദിവസത്തെയാണ് നമ്മൾ വേൾഡ് അനസ്തീസിയ ഡേ ആയി ലോകം മുഴുവൻ കൊണ്ടാടുന്നത്. ഞങ്ങളുടെ തൃശ്ശൂരുള്ള അനസ്തീസിയ ഡോക്ടർമാർ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ദേശീയ സംഘടനയായ ISA ഇന്ത്യൻ സൊസൈറ്റി ഓഫ് അനസ്തീസിയോളജിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായി തൃശ്ശൂരിൽ പ്രവർത്തിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ISA തൃശ്ശൂർ സിറ്റി ബ്രാഞ്ച് ഈ ദിവസം ആഘോഷിക്കുന്നതിന്, ഈ ദിവസത്തെ നിങ്ങളുടെ മുൻപിലെല്ലാം അറിയിക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി ഇന്ന് ഇവിടെ ഒരു ചെറിയ കലാരൂപത്തിലൂടെ ഞങ്ങളിത് അവതരിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ജനകീയ കവിയായിരുന്ന ശ്രീ കുഞ്ചൻ നമ്പ്യാർ വിഭാവനം ചെയ്ത ഓട്ടംതുള്ളൽ, അനസ്തീസിയ എന്ന വേദനാരഹിതമാക്കുന്ന ശസ്ത്രക്രിയകളെ ശാന്തമാക്കുന്ന ആ ഒരു പ്രക്രിയ ഇന്ന് ഇവിടെ ഒരു ഓട്ടംതുള്ളലിലൂടെ ഞങ്ങളിവിടെ അവതരിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇത് അവതരിപ്പിക്കുന്ന കലാകാരൻ ഏറെ പ്രശസ്തനാണ്. വിവിധ കലോത്സവങ്ങളിൽ നിരവധി സമ്മാനങ്ങളും പുരസ്കാരങ്ങളും നേടിയിട്ടുള്ള ശ്രീ കിരൺ കൃഷ്ണകുമാറാണ് ഇന്ന് ഈ ഓട്ടംതുള്ളൽ നമുക്കായിട്ട് ഇവിടെ അവതരിപ്പിക്കുന്നത്. ഈ ദിവസത്തിൻ്റെ മംഗളങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങൾക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും ഞാൻ നേരുകയാണ്. ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി ഓർമ്മിപ്പിക്കട്ടെ, ഇനി ഒരു ശസ്ത്രക്രിയയുമായിട്ട് നിങ്ങളുടെ സർജൻ നിങ്ങളെ സമീപിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഓർക്കുക, ഭയപ്പെടാനൊന്നുമില്ല. കാരണം നിങ്ങളുടെ അടുത്ത് നിങ്ങളെ സഹായിക്കുവാനായി, നിങ്ങളെ ശാന്തമാക്കുവാനായി, ശസ്ത്രക്രിയയുടെ ഒരു ബദ്ധപ്പാടും നിങ്ങളെ അറിയിക്കാതെ നിങ്ങളുടെ കൂടെ നിന്ന് നിങ്ങളെ ശുശ്രൂഷിക്കുവാനായി നിങ്ങളുടെ സുഹൃത്തുണ്ട്, ദി അനസ്തീസിയോളജിസ്റ്റ്. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
കുംഭീന്ദ്രൻ പോലെ വക്രം കുടവയറുമിയെന്നോരു ചാരുസ്വരൂപം മുൻപിൽ ശ്രീ പാർവതിക്കും ശിവനും നിഹ പിറന്നോരു ഓമലുണ്ണി ഗണേശ വൻപിച്ചുള്ളോരു വിഘ്നം വിരവിനോടകിലം തീർത്തു രക്ഷിച്ചുകൊള്ളുവാ വന്ദേറും തമ്പുരാനെ തവ പദകമലും സന്തതം കൈ തൊഴുന്നേൻ. വന്ദേറും തമ്പുരാനേ തവ പദകമലം സന്തതം കൈ തൊഴുന്നേൻ.
കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
അനസ്തേഷ്യയുടെ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അനസ്തേഷ്യയുടെ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
അനസ്തേഷ്യയുടെ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
അനസ്തേഷ്യയുടെ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു വേദനയാണ്.
അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു വേദനയാണ്.
അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു വേദനയാണ്.
അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു വേദനയാണ്.
ശസ്ത്രക്രിയ അത് വേണ്ടേ വേണ്ട.
അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു വേദനയാണ്. ശസ്ത്രക്രിയ അത് വേണ്ടേ വേണ്ട
എന്നു പറഞ്ഞൊരു കാലത്തുനിന്ന്.
എന്നു പറഞ്ഞൊരു കാലത്തുനിന്ന്
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി വന്നു.
എന്നു പറഞ്ഞൊരു കാലത്തുനിന്ന് വേദനയില്ല സർജറി വന്നു.
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി വന്നു.
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി വന്നു.
ഈതർ എന്നൊരു കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
ഈഥർ എന്നൊരു കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം.
സർജറിയാകെ മാറ്റിമറിച്ചു.
ഈഥർ എന്നൊരു കണ്ടുപിടുത്തം സർജറിയാകെ മാറ്റിമറിച്ചു.
സർജറിയാകെ മാറ്റിമറിച്ചു.
സർജറിയാകെ മാറ്റിമറിച്ചു.
കൊല്ലം 1846.
കൊല്ലം 1846.
കൊല്ലം 1846.
കൊല്ലം 1846.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-നാണ്.
കൊല്ലം 1846 ഒക്ടോബർ 16-നാണ്.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-നാണ്.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-നാണ്.
ഒരു തട്ടുപൊളിപ്പൻ സഭയുടെ മുൻപിൽ.
ഒരു തട്ടുപൊളിപ്പൻ സഭയുടെ മുമ്പിൽ.
ഒരു തട്ടുപൊളിപ്പൻ സഭയുടെ മുൻപിൽ.
ഒരു തട്ടുപൊളിപ്പൻ സഭയുടെ മുമ്പിൽ.
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി ചെയ്ത്.
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി ചെയ്ത്.
തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ ബിരുദതു കാട്ടി.
വേദനയില്ല സർജറി ചെയ്ത് തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ ബിരുദതു കാട്ടി.
തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ ബിരുദതു കാട്ടി.
ആ തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ ബിരുദതു കാട്ടി.
വേദനയില്ല ബോധവുമില്ല.
വേദനയില്ല ബോധവുമില്ല.
സർജറി എന്നത് പെയിൻഫുള്ളല്ല.
വേദനയില്ല ബോധവുമില്ല. സർജറി എന്നത് പെയിൻഫുൾ അല്ല.
ഈതർ പേപ്പർ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച.
ഈഥർ പേപ്പർ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച.
തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമൻ തന്നെ.
ഈഥർ പേപ്പർ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമൻ തന്നെ.
ആ തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമൻ തന്നെ.
ആ തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമൻ തന്നെ.
സർജറി ചെയ്തൊരു കോളിൻസ് വാറൻ.
സർജറി ചെയ്തൊരു കോളിൻസ് വാറൻ.
ആ സർജറി ചെയ്തൊരു കോളിൻസ് വാറൻ.
സർജറി ചെയ്തൊരു കോളിൻസ് വാറൻ.
അന്തം വിട്ടു വിളിച്ചു പറഞ്ഞു.
സർജറി ചെയ്തൊരു കോളിൻസ് വാറൻ അന്തം വിട്ടു വിളിച്ചു പറഞ്ഞു.
കള്ളവുമല്ലിത് ചതിഞ്ഞതല്ല.
കള്ളവുമല്ലിത് ചതിയുമിതല്ല.
വേദന എന്നത് ഇല്ലേ ഇല്ല.
കള്ളവുമല്ലിത് ചതിയുമിതല്ല. വേദന എന്നത് ഇല്ലേ ഇല്ല.
ഈതർ എന്നത് ഹിസ്റ്ററിയായി.
ഈഥർ എന്നത് ഹിസ്റ്ററിയായി.
തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമനുമായി.
ഈഥർ എന്നത് ഹിസ്റ്ററിയായി. തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമനുമായി.
തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമനുമായി.
ആ തോമസ് മോർട്ടൻ കേമനുമായി.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-അങ്ങനെ.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-അങ്ങനെ.
ഈതർ ദിനമായി കൊണ്ടാടുന്നു.
ഒക്ടോബർ 16-ഇങ്ങനെ ഈഥർ ദിനമായി കൊണ്ടാടുന്നു.
സിനിമയിൽ കാണും ക്ലോറോഫോമും.
സിനിമയിൽ കാണും ക്ലോറോഫോമും. സിനിമയിൽ കാണും ക്ലോറോഫോം. സിനിമയിൽ കാണും ക്ലോറോഫോമും.
മൈക്കിൾ ജാക്സൺ പ്രൊപ്പോഫോളും.
സിനിമയിൽ കാണും ക്ലോറോഫോമും. മൈക്കിൾ ജാക്സൺ പ്രൊപ്പോഫോളും.
ലാഫിംഗ് ഗ്യാസായി H2O-യും.
ലാഫിംഗ് ഗ്യാസായി N2O-യും.
മരുന്നുകൾ പലതും പിന്നീടെത്തി.
ലാഫിംഗ് ഗ്യാസായി N2O-യും. മരുന്നുകൾ പലതും പിന്നീടെത്തി.
വേദനയില്ല പ്രസവം വന്നു.
വേദനയില്ല പ്രസവം വന്നു.
പല്ലു പറിക്കാൻ ലോക്കൽ വന്നു.
വേദനയില്ല പ്രസവം വന്നു. പല്ലു പറിക്കാൻ ലോക്കൽ വന്നു.
ക്യാൻസർ പെയിനിന് ബ്ലോക്ക് കൊടുത്തു.
ക്യാൻസർ പെയിനിന് ബ്ലോക്ക് കൊടുത്തു.
ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ കയർ തലയിലുമായി.
ക്യാൻസർ പെയിനിന് ബ്ലോക്ക് കൊടുത്തു. ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ കെയർ തലയിലുമായി.
ആവശ്യക്കാരേറും തോറും.
ആവശ്യക്കാരേറും തോറും.
ചില കണ്ണുകടിക്കാർ കൂടി വരുന്നു.
ആവശ്യക്കാരേറും തോറും കണ്ണുകടിക്കാർ കൂടി വരുന്നു.
ചില കണ്ണുകടിക്കാർ കൂടി വരുന്നു.
ചില കണ്ണുകടിക്കാർ കൂടി വരുന്നു. മംഗളമേ കഥ കഥനം ചെയ്താൽ മംഗളമെന്നും വന്നു വേഗം നാരായണ അച്യുതനേ അരവിന്ദാക്ഷ ജയ അങ്കട വന്ന ശരണം ശരണം
Thank you, ISA Thrissur City Branch, for that wonderful cultural event. Hope all of you enjoyed this cultural show. And I would now invite comments on the story that was rendered by Dr. Madhusudan sir. So comments from the audience. Those of you who want can unmute and share their experiences. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful rendition of our history, and we thank you once again. And we move on to the last part of the today's program, that is vote of thanks, and that will be delivered by Dr. Sunil PR, who is the treasurer of ISA Kerala State Chapter.
Thank you, Vijish. Anesthesia Day greetings to all. First of all, I thank veteran Air Vice Marshal Dr. T.P. Madhusudanan, who delivered the Anesthesia Day talk. I thank President-elect Dr. Venkatagiri and Past President ISA National Dr. B. Radhakrishnan. Special thanks are due to ISA Thrissur for this idea of Otandullal. It was novel. Don't know if this has been done before. All credit to ISA Thrissur. It was wonderful. I thank all members who attended today's Anesthesia Day meeting. Jai ISA.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. And over to Binil for any closing remarks.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful event, and I think if President is there, he can contribute few words. Nasa sir, please, if he is there. If he is not there, then I thank all the faculties, senior members who joined today's evening. And thanks to Dr. Sunil for the vote of thanks. And with your permission, I'm just closing the meeting. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Jai ISA.